Good day. So just a real quick update. The next step is we've done our base coating, right? And I mentioned this before. We've got our base coating down, and we've gone to the underside. And this is where I'm going to be working in different stages. So I've worked with I've started doing the undercoating or the dirtying up of the underside. And while I'm doing that, I'm working on other pieces that can go, like the landing gear, which was sitting right in front of me. Here we go. So right there we go. So just getting the landing gear together. I'm not going to put the landing gear on till I've got this and the top mostly weathered, mostly because I will break it. So it's going to be one of those, I'm working in probably a different order or a different pace than what other people do, but this is the order that I'm working in. One point. So here, I started using shading just to break up some of this smooth black. I'm still trying to figure out how to best weather this black. So I have some experiments to do, and I will get back to those as we get there. So we've got that much done, and then moving on. One thing I did want to point out, though, so while I'm doing this is I'm also working on all the under tanks and so forth, right? And I noticed something, and this is just me. And again, it's because I'm posting up things that I'm doing to show how and what. So I was working on these guys. Here we go. So the AGM 45s, right? So you have that together, they go on, and then you put the fins. So those guys there, and these two guys here, and you put them on. And then because something, I don't know how other people do this, and I actually looked, and I didn't see other people tell me how they've done it. So I'm telling you guys. While the glue's drying, how do you keep those things from bending? And this is what I do. I take a pair of toothpicks. How about clothespins? And make just a little stand. So I put them in, put the fins in, make sure they're there, make sure they're where I want them, and then set it over there, and then just let it sit to the side till the glue dries. It doesn't take long. I'm using Tamiya Extra Thin, so you guys know how fast that stuff dries. So that's what I'm using to square those up. These holes are a little snug. Like that one works. I believe the other side, I think it was part 278 where they're a little bit snug. And yeah, so 270, yeah, part 277, that hole actually needs to be cleared out. At first I thought it was something I did, but it turns out no, and it was the same on the other one. So I'm just calling that out, and I'm going to keep moving on, going on doing the rest of this under thing, and I'll be back at my next step. Okay, so I know I said I was going to not do the landing gear until later, but as it turns out, that kind of was where I needed to go. I was pretty much to the point where the color's down and it's time to move on to starting the weathering, but I can't do the weathering until I get the transfers down. So to do the transfers, I need to have all of the panels in place. So yeah, I've gone ahead, started working on the landing gear. I'll finish that off, but there are a couple things I wanted to point out. The instructions for the landing gear they're more like guidelines than actual rules. So I'm sort of making the stuff up as I go. I think I'm following where they all go, but a couple points I want to point out. See this little guy right there? Right in there? There's one on each side. He's in step 11.2 or 11B. It's this guy right here. So it points to that notch, and there is that notch there, and then there's a little hole on the inside of the panel there. Well, it sort of gives the impression that that's going almost straight over, but the reality is that's where it ends up. If you're near where the hole is, you're almost straight up and down vertical. I'm not sure if that's accurate or appropriate, but it's where it ends up. I'm seeing the same thing here, and this is probably something I did wrong. So I'm going back. I may have to go back and redo that. But here we go again with what the picture shows as far as where the piece goes, right? And then how this goes together. So if I look at my picture, it's implying that this is going to be up and down, and that this is almost straight out from that location there. Now that nub is there, and I found it. But when I go on that nub, and then I go to there, that's actually all the way forward. Now when I look at pictures of the F4, this only sticks up just a little bit. So I don't know if that's a mistake in the part itself or whatever. Do I care? No, I don't. I've said this about 1,000 times in my different videos, is I'm not a super accurate, hyper focused on the accuracy of this so much as I am focused on having fun with the build and finding it out. However, if you are one of those that is super focused on the accuracy of what you're doing, take a look at this work. Take a look at this piece and take a look at this piece, and be aware that, you know, even that drawing there sort of implies that that's going to be out and away from the thing, but it really is not. You know, that's right at the hole, and that's it sticking where it's supposed to be. Now, I can extend that out, and I could put that lower, but then that doesn't have it line up with the little nub that's there. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not reading this right, but they're not. You know, so I am getting this result following this based on what I see. So I want to, again, this is really what I'm doing with this video here, is I'm showing you what I've done and what I'm running into. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention is be aware of what you're, be aware of what you're doing, and I find that this is super fiddly. I mean, it'll be solid enough to sit on and so forth when it goes in, and once you've got all your pieces glued in place and so forth. But what you're going to find is, you know, putting that part in, you put it in, and then I had to walk away so that it would dry and be solid. Otherwise, it's like falling all over the place. That was really fiddly. That was really fiddly. This piece is super fiddly. This, so what I did was I put this in first, then this, and then I put that in after I had already put that in place. I couldn't find a good way to get that in. Yes, I have not put this piece on either one. I'm still figuring this out. For this one, I found that putting that in, you know, part 110 in first, then you can just lay 117 on top. That really helped there. Haven't done this one yet, but I will. Anyway, that's a gotcha for that. Now, with that done, or when that's done, I will be moving forward, do a little bit of sanding on the overall piece. Then it's transfers time. And then, you know, so these guys, I'll be figuring out which of these are appropriate for the one I'm doing. Because I've got this here, because these are just the unit markings. So we've got all of the stencil data to put in. So I'll go through, put all those guys on, get those on, get the unit markings on, seal this guy, then start the weathering. Now, I've never weathered black, or at least I've never weathered black in a realistic way. I've gone and looked at a bunch of pictures to see what what's out there and how to do it and what some of the black looked like. In retrospect, I probably should have used a different color black. This was an off gray. It was a dark gray, super dark gray. But I probably should have used something a little bit even lighter. But I didn't, so I'm going to work with it. So what I've done is I've taken a mule, took this 72nd scale guy, and I'm working on different techniques to make it dirty, to show panel lines. I would like to find a way to show oil. I did a little bit there to try and show some oil. It didn't come out very well, so I'm going to play around with this while those pieces dry. And that's kind of what I'm doing is it's like put a couple of pieces on and walk away from it, and put a couple of pieces on and walk away from it. That's what I got to do. So while I'm doing that, I can work on playing with weathering on this. This has had oil washes. This has had some oil fading, using oil techniques, oil stuff. This stuff, oil paint. There we go. Using yellows and whites and reds and so forth, just to get different shades. And it's giving a dirty look. So it's a matter of me trying to figure out how to get the kind of look I want under there. And if I can get a couple more pictures of what that's supposed to look like, that'll help. Overall, again, so I'm going to finish this, and this will be the end of this video. This is, I think, the second piece of the video that I'm doing now. This is where I am right now. I will go ahead, I will do the stencil data, do all the transfers, seal it, and then I will be back after this, after all that's done, to start working the weathering process. Were there any other gotchas that I ran into? Oh, yeah. One other thing. Again, it's me as much as the instructions, but I want you to pay attention, or I want you. I'm going to point out a need to pay attention to what you're doing when it comes to these. So the make a decision thing. When you get over here to 18 and 19, these are the different missile sets, right? So the right and left hand side of these mounts can go either for these guys or they can go for these guys. There are other mounts that are on another sprue. So I thought that these were the other one, right? So I saw these and just started working on these, and I figured I'd come back and do these later. And I thought that those were for this, and it turns out these, because I'm not paying attention, and I had a choice, do these or do those. And so I ended up doing these, which, it is what it is, right? It'll work. So when you look through your instructions, I thought I read it and I thought I caught all the little, make a decision things, but apparently I did not. That was one that I just, I stumbled on, because you do have extra pieces, and those extra pieces confused me. Anyway, so my next step, like I said, is go ahead, finish putting these on, so that I can go ahead and get my stencil data down, then I can seal it, then I can go ahead and start weathering. So that will be where I will pick up on my next video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this helps you guys as you assemble yours or work on yours, or if you're interested in what I'm doing and where I fumble. And hopefully it will save anybody else from fumbling right there with me. So thanks, and I'll enjoy yourself, and I will talk to you again next time.